Hey, what's up? It's Matt Plapp. We're back with our Friday edition of Restaurant Expert Roundup. I'm in the office at my gym in Kentucky. I'm blowing on my hands. I'm cold. Bill, you're not cold. You're in Hawaii.
Well, Matt, actually, it is cold here. Today, we got down to just below 60 degrees. Last night, it was, I think, 59 degrees, and everybody's got jackets on this morning.
My wife got a kick out of it. We were in Florida, Miami, back in December for a business trip, and we went to the beach in t-shirt and shorts, and it was like 70 degrees, and there were people like in winter jackets on the beach. And I'm like, she's like, wow, you can tell where people are from. This is warm to us. So I guess tell the audience who BIll Tobin is, a little about you, because I know you have the podcast and the restaurant in your Hawaii. Give us a brief description of who you are and what you do.
Well, I think first and foremost, thanks, Matt. I am a father and a husband. I have 3 teenage boys right now. They're all at home. I think my second job right behind that is a husband, and my third job is a restaurateur. I own Tiki's Grill and Bar in Waikiki. We're the busiest independent restaurant. Waikiki is the visitor sector, resort area of Honolulu, and on the Island of Oahu, which is the busiest and most populated island in Hawaii. And we're right across the street from the beach, high volume business. And then finally, and what I'm having the most fun with right now is I have restaurantleadership365.com, where I help other restaurateurs open up the gap between or close the gap between people who have been corporate trained or have leadership training to the people who just opened up a restaurant or maybe got the manager position because somebody handed them the keys.
Yeah. And the podcast, I think if I recall looking at it, you're like 311 episodes so you're coming up on like your 11th month. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. I started on April Fool's Day. That there was no pun intended there, but I did. Maybe I bit off a little more than I could chew when I said I want to do it every day. But I really felt like there's enough information out there and enough content that I could give 2 or 3 or 4 minute tips to people, and I could fill it up 7 years of information. There's definitely ways to teach people, and it's a good way to get little bits every day, even reminders for veterans. I hope people listen to it just so they can be reminded, oh, I need to do this.
Yeah, and I like it from a standpoint that it's kind of interesting. I've got a podcast that we do. It's shot in person. One day I'm going to make it back to Hawaii, and I'm going to get in front of you and get you on the podcast. But we bring a camera crew. We do audio, video. But it's 20 or 30 minute long episodes. And my goal was to have it where people could listen to it while they're driving, or at least sit down and digest it, because I had a buddy of mine sent me a podcast that had a great topic, and the first minute or two was awesome. It was 3 hours long. And I'm like, bro, I don't know that I would listen to myself for 3 hours. Better yet, Joe Rogan for 3 hours. I mean, the topic sounds awesome and the messaging, but what I liked about yours when I first came across it, it's like almost like quick thoughts. It's like you're at the restaurant, you see something go wrong, and you're like, hey, this is how you fix that. And you pop on there. They're like 2 or 3 minutes long, and they're typically pretty simple. They're one dimensional. They're not, hey, here's 20 things to do. It's here's one thing, take it and run.
Yeah, I actually think that I actually pick themes for weeks so that I can cover more stuff and more topics. But there's also times where there's just not enough time in 2 or 3 minutes to cover everything. And I'm hoping that it's a reminder for people to go research or come to my website and see more information, but also dig deeper when there's opportunity, or ask questions. Maybe they have a mentor or somebody that they want to turn to that says, hey, how am I supposed to do inventory? Or little things like that make it educational, even on the surface.
Okay, and you led right into my fourth question, but I'll make it my first. Your December 2nd episode talked about finding a mentor. And I think that a lot of businesses, I've been an entrepreneur since I was right out of college. I've had a couple different bosses, but for the most part, self-employed. And where I've strived at the past 5 years was 2015. I found a guy, 2016, a guy named Billy Jean out of California, who was my coach for a couple of years. And I went to Chris Patterson. Now I've got a coach named Josh Nelson in Florida. is I've got somebody I can turn to and bounce things off of that's already been down the path that I'm on. Talk about the importance of, I think, restaurant owners, specifically operators, getting somebody like that.
Well, I think if you put it in a bigger context, if you think of the people who are at the highest point in their game, whether that's Tiger Woods playing golf or Tom Brady playing football or Richard Millman in his own restaurants, everybody's got coaches or mentors that they turn to for feedback, for bouncing ideas off of, and even direction and accountability. And I know I was lucky enough. I was in the active duty in the U.S. Army. I had a couple people that took me under their wings and really pointed me in the right direction when I was a young punk. And then as I grew up in the restaurant industry, I had no intention of staying in the restaurant industry. I worked my way through college as a bartender. But again, I had mentors who were saying, do this, do that. And then when I got out and decided that management was the route that I wanted to go, again, I had mentors showing me the way, teaching me, taking me under their wing and spending extra time with me. And I found that not only was that really helpful in my career, especially when I started a restaurant, but then as I matured in my career, I found that mentoring people was very fulfilling too. And it helps me continue to learn, because even though I might have somebody I'm mentoring, I'm still brushing up and getting better at what I'm teaching people or what I'm helping people with.
No, I agree completely. And it is fulfilling. I've mentored a couple hundred digital marketing companies. I've mentored a bunch of restaurants. I have a handful right now that I mentor from a marketing standpoint, that they do a pretty good job at marketing, but they realize their expertise is at crafting amazing food and drink and atmosphere. And that's, we can help them market that better. So we give them some advice. But I think too many times people get stuck kind of in their own environment. And, one of my friends has a small business that he can't get out of his own way. That I tell him, I'm like, dude, I've got a coach I would refer you to, but I honestly won't refer you to. It's like, why? I'm like, because I don't think you'll listen to him. I don't think you'll show up on time. I don't think you'll put into it. But I said, you need it, because at the end of the day, you're getting in your own way because you won't get out of those four walls and go to somebody that's been down that path. Quarterbacks, it's pretty common. You always see the NFL, the young quarterback who is in the league for a year or two, like Tom Brady was behind Drew Bledsoe. There's no doubt that Drew Bledsoe showed and talked to him about stuff that enabled Tom to jump in there and take the helm and never release it. And here he is in his 10th Super Bowl. But it's underestimated, the power of having somebody help you understand how to get where you want to go.
I think you can't say it better than that. When you said get out of your own way, you made me think of it. We've all heard the saying, you can't see the forest through the trees. And lots of restaurateurs are stuck in their four walls. They'll get behind the line, start cooking, or they'll stand at the host stand all night long. And unless they're stepping away and looking at it from a 30,000 foot view, they really miss a lot of things because they're so used to seeing everything within the four walls that it's hard for them to understand what they're missing or what they could be doing.
Yeah. Now I want to shift focus to one of your topics. It was back in January. It was on demand, pricing your restaurant based on demand. And I want to say the topic was around New Year's, if I recall. But I want to ask you how that might relate to now, because I was on a phone this morning with a client of ours who's in Michigan. They're at 25% capacity. They just got opened up, I think, last Monday to be able to open up to consumers again. And I don't, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. But if I was that restaurant owner and I've been closed for a couple months and I had 100 seats, I could only seat 25. My wings aren't going to be the same price that they were before, because I mean, at the end of the day, I got to make money. Have you talked to any operators about, you've got price and demand, like you mentioned, for Valentine's, for New Year's, for times where you're going to be packed regardless. But what about times when you're limited and you have limited capacity and you're getting the crap kicked out of you financially with regards to the shutdowns?
Well, you don't ever want to be in a situation where you're price gouging, right? Or but I think that there is supply and demand. It's basic economic principle. If there's less of something, people are willing to pay more for it. But more importantly is that you want the guests to feel like they're getting value for what they get. For me, when I go into a restaurant, I might not pay attention to the price of the menu items. I've had the luxury of having a lot of expendable income, and
Yep.
I'll order what I want. But then when I'm signing the check, leaving with my family and adding in that 25 or 30% tip, then I say, was it worth it? And that's really what you have to be able to answer to your guests when they come in the restaurant, is you need to provide good value. And that's not just the food on the table or the cold beer. It's the ambiance. It's how the server talked to you. It's how the host smiled at you. It's the decorations on the wall, the lighting, the sound of the music. All those things together create the value for the guests. And when they're walking out the door, they need to feel like they got value for the money they spent.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the price gouging 100% I agree with. And I am the same way. I jokingly say I've been fortunate that I don't look at the prices when I go to a restaurant. I've had $200 steaks. I've had $10 steaks. When I go and order, I get what I want. And, sometimes you look at the end of the meal and you look and you go, oh, that was $80 or that was $100. And because I've got 2 kids as well, and usually a friend or a boyfriend's with us. And a lot of times you wonder, was it worth it? And you don't want that feeling. So talking about was it worth it, I want to throw an idea out there for you and see what your thoughts are, because you had a topic recently that talked about Valentine's Day, which is, I guess, a week or 2 weeks away from now. January 5th, 14th, 9 days. I better get something for my wife.
A week from Sunday.
Yeah. So I think a lot of times restaurants miss the opportunity to do something unique. We've done it with restaurant clients where we have a promotion I've given out to them called the money bag, that just randomly, you can either announce it and make an incentive, or just randomly have a manager go around. You got a bag, there's money in it, and walk up. You want to reach in the money bag, and the people are like, "What's the money bag?" Well, you're here as a customer. Tonight's money bag night. We randomly do this. Reach in, you might get something. They pull out a $10 bill, and they're, hey, $10, $100, $50. Do something unique. But I heard the podcast where you mentioned about Valentine's and doing a special treat at the end, chocolate covered cherries or chocolate covered strawberries, doing some things like that, maybe something that's unique. But I had an idea that I wanted to bounce off you, but I also want you to give some feedback in depth on that topic. What about if you went out and you bought 100 lottery tickets, 100 $1 lottery tickets, and everybody you walked up to the table, you say, you know what? I think you hit the lottery with her. Here's a ticket. Thanks for coming in. It'd be unique. It'd be catchy. And then odds are somebody might win. Like we had a guy at our company pick a Christmas party. We had our boat dealership. He got a lottery ticket for Christmas, 10 grand. So it was actually really freaking. That would be really social media marketable now. But talk about surprises with events like that, like Valentine's.
I think the lottery ticket is a great idea. I think back maybe 10 or 20 years ago, one guerrilla marketer had used that situation like that in restaurants. I want to say it was Tom Fedelstein or Rory Fatt or somebody, but it was very popular and it worked for them in places where the lottery, you have tickets like that. But I think that being special or doing special things, there's lots of restaurants that already do this, and you may not have realized that it was part of their MO for every table, but they've made you feel special. And a good example is you could go to your local neighborhood restaurant, and maybe on the higher end, and you walk in and you sit and order cocktails, and even before you get a chance to order your appetizer or meal, they bring a free appetizer to your table.
Yeah.
And sometimes the chef will say, "Hey, this is on the restaurant. Thanks for coming in again. Nice to see you." But then other restaurants will, on the very same MO, they will come at the end of the meal and say, "Here's some candies or desserts, or here's a cookie for you to take home," or here's in New York, there are a couple of restaurants that I went to. I was surprised I got a granola in a mason jar to take home. and thought, oh, they said, here, we enjoyed having you tonight. This is something for you to remember us tomorrow morning. And little things like that to make people remember you, because really that's what you want to do. And you know how many people probably get granola and then post about it on social media the next day? A lot, because they were impressed. And you're making people walk away with a warm, fuzzy feeling that they're going to want to come back to your restaurant, or at least talk about it when they get a chance.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of opportunity to do something unique. And I think, you know, I don't know what it is. Maybe I might come up with an idea now that you got me thinking about the, you know, one way to be unique every week. Because I mean, think about it. This week, the Super Bowl on Sunday, somebody could go to a local store and buy a couple hundred packs of football cards, you know, and everybody that leaves as their meal, hey, by the way, thanks for coming in for the Super Bowl. Here's a pack of football cards. Maybe there's a Tom Brady in there. Maybe there's you could do some unique stuff. There's always a reason. But I think in this day and age, I don't know about in Hawaii, but here in the States, I can leave where I'm at now, and on my way home, which is literally 5 miles away, I will pass 100 restaurants. I'll pass fast food. I'll pass casual dining. I'll pass, you know, fast casual, mid to high end, one or two, a handful of high ends. What's going to make me remember that place? And what can they do to make an impact on me? Obviously, you don't do it every visit, but there's opportunities like Valentine's and Sweetest Day, New Year's, anniversaries, birthdays, you know, understanding why somebody's at your restaurant. If somebody's there and it's, you know, their 50th wedding anniversary, you know what? Find a way to do something different. Make sure that you endear yourself to them down the road. And like you said, social media nowadays, now people have a bullhorn to tell everybody about it.
Yep. And you know, those little different things don't have to cost you a lot of money either. I've seen where restaurants the server will give each guest a personal card before they leave saying, thank you for coming in. I hope you come back again. Or another one that I heard just the other day that I thought was unique was as people were leaving, they the server gave them a card and said, I'm glad you came in for dinner and enjoyed your meal. I know you're visiting. This is for a visitor market. I know you're visiting, but these are three venues that are in the neighborhood that you might want to visit to go have an after dinner cocktail or go listen to some live music. And that didn't cost them anything. It was except the paper to print it on. But the guest wrote about it on social media, and that's how I heard about it, because they were so impressed that this. Not only was the restaurant thinking about them and being very hospitable, but they were actually sharing what could be considered competitors' information about them. But they were friendly enough and saying, "Hey, we're all in this together."
Yeah. I've got a client of mine in Australia that we coach with restaurants. He's got 3 restaurants now. He just opened a 3rd one over there, and that was one thing he put in place. He's got the visit. He's got the tips and tricks. He's like, everybody that comes here, 90% of people are tourists. We have our people that are coming in, like hiking through and biking through town, that are here for extended times. He said, but a lot of people want to capture every penny of everybody. He's like, you know what? We realize that they need to experience this place. And so, hey, here's the top 2 steak, top 2 seafood, top dessert, best coffee, best view, best sunrise. And people appreciate that, especially if you spend a couple minutes talking about it. Because you're a local. Like if I go to Hawaii and I'm in Waikiki, you're there, you're a local. And I think there's so much to be said to that. And Brenton was telling me, he's like, Matt, we'll see those customers back the same week again because they were so appreciative of the fact that we gave them tips and tricks locally.
That's huge. And I wish that I had thought of that even pre-COVID, because I think that people really appreciate stuff like that.
Yeah. And nowadays, too, I'd say what could be even cooler to do it is with everybody knowing what QR codes are now. You know, for me, from a marketer, we've been trying to get people to use them for 10 years. Yeah. But now they know QR codes. You could literally have a business card with a QR code. Say, hey, scan this code. It goes to a page. This is our top picks. This is the 2 owners and the 2 general managers' top picks locally, our service staff's top picks. Here's links to their website. You can do some pretty cool stuff to where now all of a sudden you're giving people like a little local guide that they would appreciate.
Oh, that's a great idea. And you talk about QR codes. Probably 10 years ago, because we sell T-shirts in our merchandise area of the restaurant, and we put QR codes on T-shirts about 10 years ago, and then found out that nobody was using them. Nobody cared or even knew what they were. A little ahead of our time there. Now everybody knows. We might start doing that again.
Yeah, they're all native now. We tried for probably a good 3 years with 50 to 100 companies marketing to consumers because they were an easy way to get people to take an action. And people would go, what's the weird barcode? And then finally what the breakthrough was pre-COVID here, we have Procter & Gamble and Kroger. Kroger's a national grocery store chain, and Procter & Gamble, everybody knows them. They started using them, and people started kind of realizing it. And Apple and those guys made it kind of native to the phones. But, of course, COVID made it, an everyday thing. One final thing, Will, on that topic that really sticks out to me also that you mentioned, that I've had this happen before, and I've actually used this. I've had servers and it's usually higher end restaurants where you have a reservation. And I took advantage of this twice before, I guess 6 months ago, where the guy said, hey, I appreciated you coming in. I'm glad you came by. I hope you enjoyed the experience. By the way, here's my business card. On the back is my cell phone. Don't call the front desk to make a reservation next time. Call me. I'll make sure you get in here. I'll make sure we get the day and the time you need because there's times that are hard to get. And I'll make sure that you get me again so we can have the great experience. And it makes you feel like a VIP, even though it might be a little bit of, BS around it because you could call there and make it. But it gives you like, I got an in. And people like to have an in. Yep.
Yeah, there was a time where we were, this was probably 10 years ago as well, we were giving our servers business cards, but not with that same intent. And I think that might be just enough to push it over and say, okay, we need you to invite people back and ask for you and put them in your section. Servers love that. Servers loved it when somebody asked for them as well. So yep. I think that's a great way to do it. Make it part of the reservation.
Cool. Well, I appreciate your time today. I know you want to get back to the sunshine of Hawaii, and I'm going to get back to the dreary, overcast, cold of Kentucky. How can people reach out to you, and who should reach out to you? Who is the opportunity? Who's the best opportunity for you to talk to in the restaurant world?
Well, I think if you want to learn more or be reminded of some of the restaurant stuff that you've learned, or if you're new in the industry or don't have leadership training, come to restaurantleadership365.com, or people can even text me 808-201-0550. And the website has lots of information. Listen to my flash briefings. We do specials here and there. We have memberships as well. But just go to the website, check it out. There's a wealth of information, and you could be there for 2 or 3 days before you need to reach out to me for something else.
There we go. I'm going to hit a button. You said the phone number. Say that again, 808?
808-201-0550.
01550.
808-201-0550.
Oh, my bad. I had an extra one in there. 50. There we go. So add that on there. Let me add this on the screen. So there it is. 808-201-0550. Hit him up because I know also I saw or heard in one of the podcasts where you said text the number and get a free guide, or it was some kind of call to action in there. So I'm guessing.
I actually right now have a 25 strategies to rock Valentine's Day in your restaurant. I was charging for it, but I'm actually giving it away free because it's so close to Valentine's Day now. It's only going to be valuable for a few more days.
Well, cool. Well, I appreciate your time and look forward to getting off of the mainland and back to Hawaii eventually. My wife loves over there, and come by, see you in person, and have a great meal. But everybody go check out restaurantleadership365.com. Give this man a chance and check out what he's got going. Check out the podcast. It's a great, quick, easy listen to. This might sound strange, but I'll literally, as I'm getting ready in the bathroom, combing my hair, brushing my teeth, shaving, put it on, listen to 3 minutes of valuable content while you're doing that, and then go on with the day.
Thank you, Matt. It's been fun.
Cool. Thanks, Bill. See you later.
Take care.